here, and we can start really getting into this actual gameplay of what we're going to expect. And honestly, it's an interesting one because it is so very aggressive that if it gets low to the ground early and it can get off running, it might be really hard to keep up with.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. We've seen the power of aggro elsewhere where you can just get out to these early starts. But this time around, because of a whole new world and a few other cards, you have the ability to refill.
Right.
You have the potential to do something that maybe those other aggro decks could not.
Right. We're still setting up our mulligans and fun and shuffling here.
Yep.
I'm getting I wanted to take a quick look at Sam's deck. I believe we've already had Sam on the stream once.
I think that might have been one of the early rounds that Scott was helping out with.
Yeah, so Sam is our orange. Yeah, he was the foiled out Amber Amethyst list with the 4. I think it's 4. It might be only be 3. You forgot me. It might be cut off. I'm not certain, but this deck was very, very foiled out and pretty. So we'll get to see more of that going on. So we get the early Lilo here.
All right, so we get an early Lilo.
19 one-cost card deck gets a 1-cost on 1.
Who'd have thunk it? What are the odds?
Strategy achieved. We
follow Lilo right now is getting stymied by that Stitch. It doesn't look like there's a Simba available.
No. He does play them.
Yes, just not available this turn.
Right, but we could just, again, he has so many 1-costs that his ideal play in most cases might honestly just be 1-cost, 1-cost.
It could be true. I mean, with that many, just flood the board and cross your fingers they don't have grab your swords.
Yeah, and I mean, there is another world. So obviously the tell of inking the Rockstar Stitch there is making it worse. But we do have a whole new world already in his hand. So he also might just be looking to dump his hand as quickly as possible, get as much lore, and then reset with a whole new world anyway.
True. Definitely possible. So we're getting in for an early lead here, 2-0. No fear of the opposing Stitch.
No, not when you have more. So Dr. Facilier, which is a very fine static card in this particular board state. You're not too upset about these things.
Yeah. In this case, probably going to eat a few different things. Going to live to tell the tale about it a few times.
Yeah. In my guess, it'll be very often where he's just challenging with that card rather than luring with him.
Absolutely, yeah.
We get up to 5 already, so early start with no play on turn 3.
That doesn't feel great.
Yeah, that's probably not the turn you want to be taking off. So it does look like he has a grab your sword, a whole new world, and maybe some other higher cost card. But this is the exact turn that the game can just be completely flipped upside down. We get the Smee. Shout out to our Shmee.
Gotta love
it. He was good earlier, and he looks real good right now too.
I'm with you. That guy has put in a lot of work over the course of the day, I am sure. Not just the games we saw, but I imagine it hit the board. Imagine their first round opponent goes, "Why are you playing that?" Oh, that's why.
Yeah. So the Stitch gets, we get to clear the board. We get to set up. We get to have, a 2/5 Mr. Smee leaving around. And we're just going to keep inking, and we don't have anything to do again. This has got to be worst case scenario for our Song aggro.
That's Ouchtown population you, bro.
Yeah, it's definitely not what we were expecting.
No.
So we get a Jafar. We just have all this tempo. None of these cards are going to be removed from the grab your swords. I'm not even certain I'd play the grab your swords at this point.
I mean, I'm kind of floored as to what other options. So I think there's a whole new world you said was there. Yeah. Grab your swords, and then I can't tell what the other thing is. They're just going for it.
Yeah, which it feels like a necessary evil.
Oh, that was double grab your sword. It looks like
right, but it is one of those where like you're just passing to your opponent that has already 4 lore on the board and a now 7 strength Jafar that can kill anything.
This is not. Nobody wants to be in this position.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is the most ideal thing we're going to see is a follow up Rockstar Stitch, and then a attempt to flood the board with a million things and go off. But
Even that is still multiple turns of trying to get there while your opponent is applying this pressure. A big lore game there.
So we get to go to 6 here, and then he's representing, another 9 next turn.
Yep.
So, that's already putting him to 15 with a lot of cards.
Yep. Yeah, and we're down 2 grab your swords. Not that that's necessarily really digging you out of here, but in case people are wondering what sort of sweepers would be available.
Yeah.
That's like your only option.
Yeah, we're definitely down. We're down on those cards, which doesn't help. But this is the problem, honestly, with A Whole New World, is that the card is very tough to play when you're behind.
For sure. For sure.
So we get an aerial here. We get to search for something. Like maybe we get to find and grab your swords. It looks like we might have missed completely, which we do. So we just get to send them back in any order we choose. Now, granted, the aerial can sing a 5 next turn, which might be necessary, but the 5 he wanted is definitely not in his hand now.
Yeah. I don't know exactly where you can find the way to pivot, get back in this, because right now you got to be looking towards the next game, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if I don't know enough about my opponent's deck in top 8 specifically, like we're untimed, or at least I thought we were. We might be untimed. I'll have to double check on that. The point is that even if we're out of this game, since it's untimed, I don't mind trying to gather as much information as possible out of my opponent's deck.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Like, in all honesty, I might have considered not playing a card that turn and just said pass and see if my opponent did anything else, just to get as much information out as possible.
Right.
All right. Top Cut is going to be timed at 50 minutes, just so we're all aware.
Yep. Looks like it is on the stream overlay as well, so chat and everybody can follow along.
Yeah, there were some conversations earlier, so I was a little confused.
Yep. Fair enough. Looks like we are getting that big lore gain going.
So that was just a 9, right? He just went right to 15, right? Just a straight. It says 13. I guess he held something back, maybe? Maybe my math was wrong.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right.
At 13 either way.
I think I might have missed something. But all right, so he goes to 13 to 5. He's definitely threatening game, right?
Absolutely.
He's got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lore or something like that. He's got enough to win.
He's got all these and many more.
Yeah. And this is a straight Mr. Smee and Mickey Mouse beatdown right now.
Sentences that you probably a few years ago never thought you'd say.
That's exactly why I said them, actually.
It's fun with some of this stuff. It is pretty fun.
Mr. Smee, Mickey Mouse, and Jafar walked into a bar. I'm just kidding. This is what it would look like, probably, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
So we get to sing. Like that is effective.
All right. How many resources do we have? We have 6 resources, so maybe a hard cast Tinkerbell on top of it?
Tinkerbell would be pretty stellar here. That would... Man, would that actually remove the entire board from the game except for the Smee?
Which then dies to Stitch.
Right.
Well, no, Jafar lives, right? Jafar has 5?
Okay, so you would just run in Jafar instead of running in the Smee.
Right, but close to board clear.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they don't have the Tinkerbell or...
Yeah, it would have been slam dunk, right? Yeah. So we get the ink...
Oh, no.
So, well, the problem is what is he going to find? Because, like, if he kills, I don't know, if he banishes Jafar, it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lore. That 8 lore is still enough to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
So he really needed to have Tinkerbell to even do anything.
Yep.
So, yeah, he just,
Players recognize it, and we're moving on to the next one. Yeah, that turn did have potential. Like, it wasn't an impossible scenario to come back from if you had the appropriate tools.
If he had the Tinkerbell, the game at the very least gets a bit of a pause,
Right?
which is nice. But we didn't get there.
Yeah, if you don't have the exact cards you need, it doesn't quite work out.
Hey, sometimes you got to play for that, though, right? Like sometimes you just got to go, I'm going to play out my cards, and if my opponent has it, then he has it. And if he doesn't, I get to win the game. And that's exactly how I looked at that turn for, I believe Sam is on our right. Sam is the orange. Yeah, so Sam, like that given turn that he goes, like if my opponent has Grab Your Swords and Tinkerbell, I'm going to be in a worse position. But if he doesn't, I just get to win the game.
Right. And given 2 Grab Your Swords were already eaten by the earlier discard, seems like a fair bet to make.
You're working with good information, so
right.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst choice you can make.
So we'll see what players try and do this time around.
Well, we're going to hope that we don't time walk ourselves turns 3 and 4, right?
Yeah, that's kind of a feels bad man moment.
You're supposed to be this pressure deck, and if you're not able to pressure on turn 3 and on turn 4, it's just not. You're not going to be in a good position regardless.
Absolutely.
I will say though, with the Smee and with the Jafar and like things like that, like these 5 health characters, I think just in general, this might end up being a pretty bad matchup.
Yeah, I can agree with that. There are ways to make it line up, but it's always, maybe not always, but a good portion of the time going to be very clunky, and you're not going to feel great about it. There's going to be turns where you just, all right, I have to do this, but I don't want to. And it's going to happen a lot.
Right. And I imagine there's, there's some bit of hope that you can kind of rock star, into a win. But you have to set up very particular turns, and your opponent kind of just has to let you do it in a way. Now, granted, we're playing against Amber Amethyst, so that's a good start. They don't have like the spot removal, and your cards just kind of get to hang around a little bit longer. But I think aside from that, if he's not able to capitalize on these like massive swing turns, then he's just going to continue to fall behind the matchups, because cards like Mr. Smee and Jafar and any of these other like favorable trading challengers, they're just going to do too much.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly why they're there, right? They're going to be generating that card advantage over time, and they beat up on aggro.
Yeah,
they come down early and they eat a lot of aggro bodies. So Mr. Smee is hungry. He's going to eat.
I'm very excited that he is successful. I'm like
a big Peter Pan fan.
No, I'm not. I'm just a big fan of like just seeing that line. In all honesty, fair. Five health is it's a stat in the game that certain cards that have it are just better, and acknowledging that he is a vanilla card in the game, but he has 5, a 5 willpower it's a meaningful stat in the game. So for players to identify that this early on, I think is just really, really great for the game. Exactly.
Yeah, it's good to see people finding those meta choices, like you said, this early in the game and adapting very rapidly. All right, so Tank goes away to the early turn 1 Simba play.
Yep. Inca Jafar. We have another Stitch. So our 1/2s are starting to look bad again.
Yep. The 2/2s for 1 doing a pretty good job in this matchup controlling the board, which just kind of reinforces what you were saying earlier. It doesn't even necessarily have to be Mr. Smee. I guess all of them are gonna.
Yeah, the trades they're just unfavorable trades for the most part here. So we get a lantern out. So that could speed us up quite a bit. I'm trying to really get a good look at his hand. It looks like he has a really low curve. So the lantern does allow us to just go ahead and play a Captain Hook as well.
Right. So this is getting closer, I guess, to what the actual game plan is. Just vomit your hand on the board and then, like you said, refill.
Yeah, it's definitely vomit and then refill to a whole new world. It's just a matter of not being so far behind that the whole new world is just not good.
Right. First lore getting gained here, +1 for Sam.
The new dog is not necessarily afraid of any of these cards. Obviously, the Captain Hook will trade up to it, but I think he's content with that now.
Yeah. I think I saw an aerial there. I can't quite. I think there's a smash as well. We'll see which comes out here. It is, in fact, aerial. So we're going to dig for a song here. And since I couldn't tell the rest of the hand, we're not. I think there is a song in here. It looks like a Brave New World. All New World, rather. Excuse me.
Did he just put everything to the bottom?
I think he put everything to the bottom. Maybe there wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, he has 12 in there, so it's not, it's not a guaranteed hit by any which means. For what it's worth, it never is.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the other argument, maybe there was one. Would you put it on the bottom if you saw one, given that he already has one in hand?
What, a whole new world?
Yeah.
No, you would. I mean, I don't think there's no reason to keep it or not to keep it, I guess if you really think it's going to matter being at the bottom of your deck.
Well, I don't think there's any chance that we're going to hit another one, but
no.
I think the argument is that I already have one. One of these will just get discarded, so why bother?
I would be worried. I get we haven't seen it yet, but his opponent does have You Forgot Me. You Forgot Me in his list, so like getting the plus card is still good enough.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
There is value in retrieving it.
So the question is now is what can we really get out of our hand? And then what are we singing? Are we going to sing this Grab Your Sword, or are we going to sing A Whole New World? I mean, if we could sing A Whole New World, we still have three resources to work with and an ink.
Right. And it looks like that is the case.
Yeah, I think this is an okay. So he did have the You Forgotten Me there. So if he didn't play it this turn, he would not have been able to play it at all.
Right.
So we get the fresh sevens. We're in much better position this game, I would say, right?
A slight amount, yeah.
Playing that on turn 3 and not skipping my turn 3 and 4 to play it on 5 does feel a lot better.
Usually people are just making small talk when they say, well, things could be worse. But as we learned in game 1, yeah, they could be significantly worse. Yeah. So this position's a little better.
Yeah. So we get to Zimba and search. A little bit of filtering again.
That looks like a Grab Your Sword. So
he looks like Grab Your Sword, Smash, A Whole New World, Stitch, Captain Hook, and Zimba.
Yeah, it looks like Captain Hook is going to get tossed aside. But as you mentioned earlier, I don't think there was an ink this turn.
There might be a Tinkerbell there too.
I think you're right. Looks like Simba goes into the row.
Do we have a baby Tink?
I don't.
No,
I think that's only Big Tank.
I think it's two. It might even be two big things.
Oh, you can get them next turn. So thanks to that lantern, assuming you have something else to row and you don't get tagged here with You've Forgotten Me. Preemptive smash.
He smashes the Smee.
All right.
This is where we're at. We are threatening with Mr. Smee. I love it.
Incredible. I get some trades here.
Yeah.
But no lore.
So he rose the Forgotten Me because he's, what's it going to do him, right? He can't afford to exert forward and play that this turn, that's for sure. Oof, I don't know if I would have played the Pascal there. I mean,
this feels like it's kind of inviting disaster.
Well, I mean, when your opponent plays with Smash on your Mr. Smee, you have to assume why.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a tell.
And then he even, what just happened? Why did the Mr. Smee?
He ran into the aerial.
Oh, and he just lured with. Okay, he just did it out of order, so I got confused. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so it looks like we gain a lure with Dr. Facilier, and then we trade it with Smee. We
Well,
wrote
no, he didn't
big-
even lure. I think he ran both in.
Oh yeah, you're right. He would have had to run both in. Oh yeah, okay. That's a lot of value out of my aerial. I'm okay with that. Well,
That is, in fact, the Tinkerbell that everybody saw coming 70,000 miles away.
all right, so we get that off the board. We get the swing, and we just get 3 more lore here. So we get on the board, right, at 3.
I think Anthony's feeling a little bit better about this game. I don't know. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, the whole new world looks good. So whenever you play that card and it can be good, you're gonna feel good about it.
if you, this feels very John Madden. If you play cards and they're good, then they're
Yeah,
good, right?
when cards do what they're supposed to do, you feel great, and when they don't, then you feel really
You
bad.
see, the person who gets the most lore in the game is probably going to win the game.
You know what? That's a really fair assessment. I actually think that's 100% accurate. It does feel that this is an odd position for him now.
How so?
Well,
Okay.
So like,
Sorry,
we're gonna
man.
take off our turn 5, and we're gonna get rid of 2 cards. And
Oh, you
all
mean
we
for
have is
Sam?
a
You mean for
mixture-
Sam? Sorry,
What?
I misunderstood who you were referring to.
Yeah, so we get 2 cards, but like, my opponent could just a whole new world again if that's his choice. And he also just has another Tinkerbell. So he decides to keep the Tinkerbell. And then the Smee takes out Lilo. Great. And now we just get to, go to town, right?
I can't tell. I think it's 2 cards for Sam. Would you have kept the whole new world there instead of the Tinkerbell?
Oh, he did. Okay, never mind. So he did keep
Okay.
the whole new world. Interesting.
Never mind. I guess we have our answer.
I guess he must have shuffled it and I missed it the last second. So we get to draw a billion cards, right? We get to draw back up to 7. Second time today. We're lots of whole new worlds in this one.
Yeah.
And we now have to figure out how to get rid of this Smee, I guess.
How many, Smee is just a monster. Okay, never mind. He's not that much of a monster. He just gets smashed like everybody else by Marshmallow.
Yeah, but he got something else out of the deal, so he's still pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so we get double lantern. We get the tap double lantern and a third for an Ariel. Great. I'll get to go fish for another good card. I'm going to miss. So we miss.
Oh my God. Hey, it happens. It happens.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We also don't... I didn't see how many he might have had in his hand. We already know that he's gone through a fair amount of them.
Yeah.
So the numbers are dwindling for sure.
You played 2 draw 7s, so you've seen a few cards so far.
Right.
I'm trying to take a peek at the list right now to see how, what is Sam looking for in this scenario to try and get out of this?
Well, it's not good if he just drew 7 cards in his first turn. His first ability is draw 2 more cards.
Hardcast friends, yeah.
Right. So that's definitely not where we want to be, probably. I mean, the lore totals are low, so you still have some time. Like, he's only threatening 5 lore. Rafiki helps. It gets rid of Azimba.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's susceptible to many things. I'll be curious to see here if we found a Rockstar Stitch, then this game might get out of hand very quickly. I don't think we have that, though.
Yeah, with no sweeper to speak of out of Amber Amethyst, and certainly not this list. It would be a challenge if that Stitch just went off and decided to create a giant mosh pit on the board of 80,000 1-drops.
I mean, that's definitely the end game for this deck. It's just a matter of finding it, and it looks like he failed to find again. So I don't know if I'm in love with that play.
The 1-for-1 grab your swords? Okay. I mean, that's a thing that can be done.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If we just flood the board now, it's fine, right? Like, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to flood. All right, so we're going to draw first. We draw a Zimba. We're just pitching a Zimba, right? And then we're just going to play the rest of our hand. So you are representing, what's this? That's fine too. So they have to run the Zimbas before they can touch your aerial. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lore. That's a lot. That's a big number.
That adds up pretty quickly.
He can play any card he draws off the top of his deck pretty easily because he's at 6 resources and the lanterns. So,
I mean, I don't like to call stuff too early, but we may be seeing a game 3 at this point.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that. We do get some bodies out there, but he's going to end up going to 17 lore here, and you got to find a way to stop a lot of things going on.
Right. We said this a few times in some of the earlier games, but that's just a lot of bodies. There's just too many things. There's too much.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure this is 9 lore here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we go to 17, and literally you just say pass and deal with me.
Yep.
So it looks like we have plans, maybe. Or maybe not.
Looking at, I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, so I'm going to the deck list to see what could possibly be played here. Now, don't get me wrong. We're in top 8, so it's always like, well, I want to think it out, if nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, like, Elsa's not good enough, right?
Yeah.
Multiple Rafikis I don't think is good enough.
All right, so it's Elsa.
Right. Which is fine, but it's still like, I still have 5 lore.
Yep.
So it's just, yeah.
There we go.
I do love and respect the amount of players today that are just like, I'm not even going to draw my card or do anything else. I'm just going to tap the guys that win the game.
But we do, in fact, get a game 3 for our first match, of the top 8.
Yeah, and obviously that went much more as planned for the Song aggro deck there. Not taking off 2 turns as an aggro deck against the mid-range deck is exactly where you need to be.
I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of decks that I feel if you're just skipping 2 turns and your opponent's doing stuff, you're in bad shape.
Right. It's definitely difficult. But it's nice to see, I felt like game 1 was difficult in general because at the end of the day, you took 2 turns off and you weren't really in it. That was the complete opposite of like, here's all the pressure in the world and how do you compete with this? And that is one of the issues, with Sam's deck is that he just doesn't have an AoE. He doesn't have a way to like really handle that many cards being, placed on the board.
Yeah, especially going second in that game. Here, presumably going first, you're going to have the slight advantage, the tempo advantage. Maybe the Rafikis, they're coming online 1 turn sooner. So, you can prevent the early lead from really boxing you into a corner.
Yeah. I also think you can mulligan more strongly for those things to try and get out of it. But what I do think is interesting to note here is that while this deck is very good at splattering out cards early, it's also very good at splattering a bunch of cards out late. So you have to be able to understand that, maybe my opponent just won. He was able to win a game this way, but he absolutely has the ability to win a game in completely other direction. And it's hard to prepare for both of those strategies.
Absolutely. But as far as initial strategies go, you got to survive the initial onslaught. So
yes.
We got to cross one bridge at a time. All right, players look like they have their actual starting hands. Let's see what they do.
Oh, we got a Stitch. Hangs out. Gets the little presence on the board here. Definitely threatens most of the uninkable cards that we want to be playing and not be threatened.
All right. Early game.
We match.
Fair.
The Stitch mirror is on.
Yep. We're not going to see Stitch chowing down on all of the 1-drops from the opposing build.
Right.
But Facilier does present a different issue because that's probably going to eat a couple things.
Yes. On average.
I'm having a little difficulty trying to parse exactly what's in hand. I think is that an Eric?
That's an
Can't see
Eric.
the rest of the card, so I'm
It looks like he
kind
has
of
a
guessing.
Zinda, a Smash that just got inked, Prince Eric, which I think is coming down now. Oh no, we got so we had Lantern. So Lantern into one. Yep. So we Lantern into Stitch. Getting the ability for Lantern right away is very powerful. The card not going to a minimum of 1 is exceptional.
Yeah, it's something that anybody who's played other games is they're going to read it and then say, wait a minute, and reread it and go, oh, yeah, that's probably pretty good.
Right. It's definitely warranted for the uninkable. There's no doubt about that.
For sure. Yeah, it's absolutely justified given the current configuration of the card.
Well, there he is. He's back.
The man, the myth, the legend that is Mr. Smee.
I'm telling you, this card has been exceptional today, is the word I'm going to use for the 3-cost 2/5 vanilla character.
The stocks for Mr. Smee are going up. There's going to be a run on Mr. Smee.
I'm upset he doesn't have all 4 of them foil, if I'm being completely honest.
For shame. You gotta want it.
If you were going to commit, you had to commit.
It's true. It's true.
All right, so we drop a Tink, and we get to start lanterning again. All 4. All right, so there's our Rockstar. So effectively, he is just going to pass the turn now, and we're gonna see this Rockstar deck do exactly what it's been doing for 3 months.
Yeah, I'm with you. And there's not. How do you even interact with that at this point? You just have to hope that you.
The Amethyst, Amber deck does not have a very good way of interacting. He does pick up a lore from questing with Smee. He's going to hold back the Dr. Facilier, I think, which is fine. No, he's just going to take it, and that's fine. It's in no danger, in all honesty.
Right.
But here we might see a pretty healthy turn.
We're about to see some funny things, very potentially.
Hopefully, we'll see. His hand looks like he has double Ariel with a Prince Eric, and
so you're gonna have to hope to draw some things off the top. Potential if they go for it.
Right. So we tap, we draw. We picked up a Lilo, I think.
I believe you're correct.
Rowan Eric. All right, and then we're just gonna search. We're gonna search for a song.
I can respect this.
We do find Be Our Guest this time.
It's something at the very least.
It's a card. I still think I'm very likely holding my Stitch back here. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't expose that.
No, there's just no reason to. At this point in the game, it's 3-0. Your opponent's only representing 4 to go to 7. I think you're totally content with where you are right now in the game.
Yeah. And as you mentioned earlier, there's really not many ways for them to interact with it if it's not exposed. Once you expose it, all bets are off. Right.
I mean, I'm gonna double check here real quick. He has he does have Elsa, Spirit of Winter. I'm sorry. Oh, he might have both. He has both, but he has baby. He has baby Elsa. So that is a way to tap down and then utilize your cards from there. But
we have a few turns before that comes online.
Interesting. So he sung Part of Your World to get back Stitch. So this is definitely a very I'm not going to lose to your wide board play, and I actually really support it. Plus, Mr. Smee singing A Part of Your World. I mean,
any Mr. Smee interaction.
Yeah. All right. So it looks like he drew another Ariel. Is that what happened there?
Well, I think he had 2 before, unless that's a third you're saying. I didn't see it.
Okay. So he just finds Grab Your Swords, which is not good news for Sam.
No, that's in fact very bad.
Yeah. So we get to do some very unfun things with that card now. Because and it's really funny because I respect the go wide mentality of I can't prevent him from doing this if I don't also go wide. However, you're not the grab your swords deck.
Yeah. Now, that being said, the grab is going to only directly eliminate the Stitch. There's a bunch of higher health characters out there right now, but it is going to make them vulnerable to allow the aerials trade in or other plays to happen.
Sure. But that's also right now. As he develops his board here, as he represents, Sam is going to have to be weary of what he's questing versus challenging. So now that he knows he has grab your swords, it makes those trades even more difficult. Knowing
that's exactly it. Yeah, those trades where you could just crash in before and live maybe multiple times. You're not doing that necessarily now.
Right. Now your cards are going to get unfairly traded for. So we get to play grab your swords now, which does get rid of the Stitch, put some other damage on the board. I do wonder how many cards are in Sam's hand. If it looks like he has at least one, but I'm not sure. I think it's just one. So that makes the Jafar not too threatening at all right now.
Right. We're contemplating the Stitch going in.
Yeah, so the Stitch took out the Jafar to put one on. And it doesn't feel that bad because it looks like he's out of gas on Stitch anyway. And now if his opponent wants to run into Stitch, he's going to get a very, very favorable line of trades.
Yeah, so it looks like Sam's now up to 2 cards since you were pointing out before only 1. Obviously, get the draw for the turn, but do we get a Rafiki?
No.
Maleficent.
Not the worst card. Rafiki would have been better. Yeah, so this is going to be the real turning point here. If he just falls behind in this turn and the next, it's going to be so very difficult for him to kind of catch up in the game, I think.
Absolutely.
At this board state, this would be another time where I don't think I would be playing a whole new world in this position. I would just
want to give your opponent gas at this stage.
Right, because he's only on 5 resources, I think. So the Mickey gets traded, and then we just, I would be completely content. I'm actually really shocked that he left Lilo in play.
That is a little surprising. Well, no, because those, yeah, I guess. Can't get it with either of those things on the board because obviously they just came out, but some of the trades could have gone down a little bit differently.
I mean, I guess if you're on 0, your opponent has 0 lore, then you can find something else later to deal with it.
What are we looking at here? Is that Be Our Guest?
Singing
Yes.
Be Our Guest. Finding
that looks like another Rockstar.
Yeah, it's Rockstar or Goons here. My issue with this particular play is I guess if we're definitely not going to play the whole new world, which I'm hoping we don't. Finding Stitch here is great. You just get to play him.
I mean, the plan here may be go and find Stitch. We found Stitch, so step 1 complete.
Right.
Get the Stitch into play, and then whole new world.
Right.
But given how far down on cards your opponent is, maybe it might be better just to wait and try and draw. If you top deck your own low cost and then not have.
I don't think he should feel rushed to play that card at all, especially now when my opponent is just effectively going to time walk. The Facilier is going to run into Lilo or Hook. Yeah, and then Melissa's going to trade that there. So you even out the board, but you have six resources with no cards, and on the other side we have Stitch and Ariel, which are both representing things. So I would not be looking to a whole new world here much at all.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a slight card quality disparity or board position quality disparity here.
And then you just drew a Grab Your Swords. We just sing Grab Your Swords, wipe the board, maybe? No, Facilier would still have 1 health remaining.
I mean, you could just... we're going to smash. All right.
Yeah, so we can smash, and then we can run Ariel into Maleficent. Right. And then we just quest with and we get on the board with questing, so we go to 6.
Right.
And you're just so far ahead in the game.
Yeah, at this point, if you're playing Amber Amethyst, you naturally have to rely on your rush characters. You have to rely on having an existing board position, because we were talking about not having board clears and things like that earlier.
Yeah.
And not having board position when you need to rely on it seems awkward.
So we get to be our guest. We find a Lilo, which that's great. Lilo comes in for free because a lantern, draw a card. Not the card you probably want it, but it is what it is. And then we're just going to gain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lore this turn. Seems okay.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean,
the entire game at this stage is stop me.
Yeah.
Try and stop me.
Like I'll go to 13, and then it's going to be your turn, and you can figure out what you can do. You can kill a Lilo, which is
they recognize it.
That's going to be it. You just can't, couldn't compete.
I'm our first top 4 competitor.
Yeah, shout out to Anthony. Song aggro getting there.
Yep,
love to see it. And yeah, so if we take a look at the Amber Amethyst list,